Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Today, I'm joined by a little bit of a hero of mine, I'm going to say. His name's James O'Keefe. He's the founder of the Unguarded Warrior, fellow mental health advocate, and all-round legend.
Oh,
Finally, I've got him on the show. Welcome to the Waffle Shop.
That's just made me feel really embarrassed. I'm like, I'm gonna hide away now. Oh, thank you. Do you know what? But you just literally said, "Oh, is there anything else I want to say?" I'm also got my own kind of. I don't think it's called a podcast, but it's called Two Men Talk. We've got it on Instagram and TikTok at the moment. We just do little snippets of conversations that me and my like ride or die brother we
Love
can't
that.
have. But thank you, brother. I'm honestly I'm so honored to be on the Waffle Shop podcast. I've been watching you for ages now, and I think what you're doing is absolutely spot on. So thank you, appreciate you.
Oh, I feel a little embarrassed, so we're gonna quickly skip past
a little bit of a love off. All right.
A bit warm in here now. Look, honestly, like I genuinely mean it. But before we get into who James O'Keefe is, we start each one of these shows with something called the Weekly Waffle, which is something that gets on my nerves, that once I've got it off my chest, makes me feel better. And my life is a series of unfortunate events. It's just one embarrassing event after that. And the thing that's really wound me up this week, James, is the shame of tripping in public.
I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
I even talked about it now, like I could feel like my temperature is rising because it was in the middle of town. It was very, very busy at lunchtime. I was carrying a coffee, so I was quite warm anyway. It was one of those awkward autumn days when you leave the house, it's freezing cold. By midday, you're sweating. So it was very awkward and uncomfortable anyway. And then I did the awkward little trip, and it's the awkward little like shifty run you've got to do afterwards. You're looking around, like you're naturally just bright red from embarrassment, and then your heart rate's going, and it's just unnecessary, all of it.
Right, I'm gonna put that. So I've changed. I used to feel exactly that way, and now every time I do it, every time I trip, I laugh.
Okay. Okay.
Honestly, I just laugh. I laugh, and I put myself in the view of other people having a laugh at me, because when we watch something on, someone makes a faux pas and we laugh, I'm like, it's funny. So now let me put that mindset in my head and laugh at myself. Not only do I want to laugh at myself, but be okay with everyone else having a little giggle because it's funny.
Yeah.
So I've spun that on its head. I've let go of that and just gone, you know what? I'm going to go with it. And I just have a laugh now. And I look around, and often I'll catch someone's eye and we'll just have a little giggle. I'll be like, oh, you know what I mean? I'll be like, I'll go, I enjoyed that trip, and just make light of myself.
Send me a postcard next time.
And that's it. And just make light of ourselves. Because I think sometimes we get caught up in being so like, oh, don't want anyone.
What are they thinking? Yeah, don't want to see me.
Instead of just having a laugh and just being, you know what, just letting it go.
Joe, I needed that. There you go. Public embarrassment gone. Cheers, pal. You're very kind of like, we were catching up before you would kind of hit the record button, but like you were saying about like you're in a very, very different mindset now. So this question might be a little bit obsolete, but is there anything that kind of gets on your nerves that you'd care to get off your chest? Or is it just a case of now, like what you've just said, like flipping when things do annoy you onto its head to be like, can't do anything about that. I can't worry about it.
Yeah. Look, obviously there's still things that are, annoy day to day,
Yeah.
I tell you,
this is what I want.
There's a laugh. The reason I laugh is because it's like, it pops into my head. I get triggered by the word trigger. How about that? I'm like, I'm over this. Oh, that triggers me. And I'm triggered by that. That's not other people's responsibility. It's our responsibility. So I'm like, because here's the thing. Everything that this is quite a hard thing for some people to get into their heads, and it took me a long time.
Yeah.
It's part of the extreme ownership that I live by, and it's accepting that we are responsible for everything that happens in our world. And it's a difficult acceptance, but we are. Like, everything I've had in my life, good and bad, I've had, not, if not all of the part in it, I've had a culpability in everything. And once we realize that, we then can take power from that. And then we stop blaming everyone else, stop blaming the world and this person and that person, the cat, dog, the ferret, the government, the this or that, and we take ownership. Yes, it doesn't mean that people still do things that are annoying and all of that. And we can, we can still talk about it. It's not about keeping it in and blaming ourselves. It's just taking responsibility for our lives. And since I've done that, and the work I try and do and the work we do at Unguarded Warrior and all the rest of it is around that. And it's the most freeing thing you can ever do, in my humble opinion.
Do you know what? Even if there is nothing else from the rest of this episode, I'm taking that today. Because you are bang on it with that. I feel like quite a lot of people need to hear that.
Do you know, and it's not, like, I'm not saying it's for everyone. And we do become, I believe, I've been there as well, victim mode. We get caught up in that victim mode. Poor me, oh, my life's so bad. And then I look in the mirror and realize I'm now a middle-class white man. And I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. I'm okay.
Yeah.
My bar's there naturally.
Yeah.
I've got food in my fridge. I've got clothes on my back. I've got a house. I've got, I've got all these things. I've got a wife who loves me. I've got all of this stuff. Well, I hope so anyway. Might change there. Who knows? No, but so all of these things, and it's just accepting, that we're in a good place right now, not in a month, not a year ago, not now. And that is the being present, being like, in the moment and understanding that. And all of those things are like, once you kind of start compact, it's like compact saving, when you compact, money and all of that, your savings and it's like that. Once you start a process, you add another one on, then you add another one on. There's no room for negativity. There's no room for like, oh, I feel so. You might feel bad, and it's okay to feel it or whatever. But then it's like, okay, I've got these systems. Let me check my list, and then you move on with that.
Yeah. No, mate. Honestly, I'm just speaking my language with this. For such a huge period of my time, I was like, woe is me, like, oh, I can't do this because this bad thing happened to me. And it wasn't until like the pandemic and even the bloody Waffle to be like, well, actually, Taylor, these things were actually put in front of you. Yes, they're obstacles. Yes, they're like really difficult, but I've used them as stepping stones rather than blockers. And now I wouldn't be sat here having this conversation with you if that wasn't the case. And it's like, I think people kind of, it's so easy to forget with how scary things are in the world that we're actually in control of a lot more than what we think we are. Like, we can actually control these little things that we're actually like, okay, like I can control how my day goes. I can control if I make my bed in the morning. It's those little wins that naturally build up. And it's like when you start putting the bigger things into play, you're like, okay, I'm going to be all right.
And you've touched on really, so I've got a slightly different point of view on control. I agree with you on what you're saying about control. This is quite controversial. Because I was actually listening to Wrong and Chatterjee with Stephen Bartlett just a little while ago. He was talking about his 3 kind of pillars that he has, and I've got kind of 7 that I live by. I've written a book, and hopefully it'll come out soon. And anyway, blah blah blah. My thing with control, I don't actually believe we've got any. Whatsoever, ever, about anything. So I also believe it's a prison that we are putting ourselves in. So everyone these days, control your breath, control your finance, control your emotions, control your loved ones, control your finances, Jesus, I'm like, whoa, like that is just so much pressure. Me, I'm like, hold on, let's just surrender. And now that is a really difficult concept, particularly for men. Surrender? Well, that's weak, you know, like what? That's like, it isn't. Surrendering to the fact that everything, you've got no control. The more you try and control it, the worse it becomes. It's like trying to control a puppy who's running around, you know. The more you shout, the more you get mad, the more you flap your arms, the more the puppy just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
You just surrender to the fact it's a puppy and it's going to do that, you know, then maybe you're going to be okay. So you surrender to the fact, you go, okay, this is the situation. Like life, it's going to be hard and it's going to be lovely at times. That's it. Bad shit's going to happen. Good shit's going to happen. If you can surrender to that, then you've not got control over it. And then you are not trying to control every situation. So for me, I don't try and control situations now. Like when I get in cold water, I don't control it. I surrender to the cold water. I be present at the time. You know, I've got all of these little things that I do. So that for me, control is I don't believe we've got any. All I've got is the ability to manage my emotions and my not reactions, my responses to situations. That is all I've got in life, nothing else. So once I come from that point of view, everything is a win. Like everything, I've let go of the control, you know, that, because I am a control freak. I was a control freak, you know. So me letting go of that, it also doesn't have that hold over me anymore. And that is how I go into every day now, after resetting in the morning with my little calm before the chaos that I've kind of invented for the Unguarded Warrior and stuff. That is what I do every day, how my mindset is.
This is going to be one of them conversations that I'm going to repeatedly come back to. It's like really narcissistic that I sit sometimes and listen to my own podcast.
No,
because I need to hear these kind of conversations back.
I appreciate it. And look, obviously, Taylor, that's my opinion, and it's what I've been through, and it's what I've seen, and it's, you know, the men I'm helping at the Unguarded Warrior and stuff like that. It works. It really does, because all of this control just makes for work, you know, for just, and particularly men. If you're quite hard on yourself as a man, you know, I was trying to control my morning routine, and Dr. Rongan says, you know, Chatterjee, he was like, oh, I can control my morning routine. Well, what if you can't? What if you can't control your morning? Then the control's gone, and then you feel like, oh my God, I'm out of control. So instead, surrender to the fact that you're going to get up in the morning. If you do your morning routine, great. If you don't, you're still the same goddamn person. It's okay. You know what I mean? You haven't, like me, I used to put myself under so much pressure to do all these things. And then I'd end up beating myself up because I hadn't done one morning thing. Like, what's that all about? So it's like, let go of that, surrender to that, know that I've got it in me to be the person I want to be, kind, loving, generous, you know, all of that, and go out into the world with the abundant mindset, not the scarcity mindset. And that's what I'm trying to do, brother.
I think you're doing it very well.
Not all the time, you know. I still get things massively wrong. I still, you know, snap sometimes, don't quite get, you know, my response right. You know? So, and that is something every day I'm working on, and I'm trying to be, you know,
I think everyone's a work in progress though, aren't they?
Mate, 100%. 100%.
So now,
me more than others.
Yeah.
Just ask my wife.
I want to take it back a little bit now, because obviously I'm a huge fan of yours.
Rewind, select.
We are a music podcast, so music and everything else. Before we go chat awful shit on this podcast, but I want to kind of rewind. Now it's stuck in my head. Now rewind a little bit back to kind of the journey that got you to where you are now. And obviously, feel free to talk about whatever you want to. And obviously, if there's bits that you want me to take out, we'll take out.
Oh, mate,
I want to know James before he got to the Unguarded Warrior and where he is now.
Wow. You sure about that? You sure you want to know him? It was a massive tool.
Buckle up, because I feel like this is going to be a this is going to be a wild one.
mate. The classic kid, the classic bad kid, the naughty, if there were all these ADHDs and things, I'd have everything, the whole lot. They'd be like, oh, there it is. You just have the lot. Fighting from 5 years old, apparently just, at school, and I'd have to stand my face against the wall at 5, 6 years old, the whole of lunchtime, my face against the wall because I was a naughty kid. And then just mental from there. Mum, dad split up when I was 8. Just my dad was an alcoholic. I got kicked out at 15 and a half. I was a football hooligan at 14. Running around drinking, doing mad shit, going around the UK in vans, fighting. It was insane, like mad. Terrible role models. Wanted to be genuinely my wish at school was to be a gangster. Honestly, that was it.
Joy, fair play, but now I'm sat here with your locks and your red glasses on. I'm like,
by the way, everyone, these are blue light blocking glasses. I don't think I'm Bono or something. I wish I was that cool. Yeah.
Oh, well, this is really embarrassing now because I thought I was talking to. Wow. I was like, world exclusive. I've got Bono on the Waffle shop.
Yeah. Just put it on the title. It'll be fun.
They won't know. How's your Irish accent?
Well, I am half Irish though. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, mate, I love that. That was it. My dad died when I was 16. Drank himself to death, and then I just went completely off. Even more off the rails. Drink, drugs, drug dealing, violence, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I used to really, really take a lot of drugs and drink. A lot. So, that was a mad time of life. And then managed to blag a job at Sky TV in London. Just lied about it, made up my CV, like I always used to, because I didn't get any qualifications from school, no GCSEs or anything. And then just started to work hard and tried to change my life a little bit. I started exercising. I'd never eaten a vegetable till I was 25. Wow. Never been to the gym. I'd literally, my chin went from there to there. I smoked, I drank,
wow.
And then it was just a slow, progression, and there was loads of bad shit happened, and but went on and just every year just trying to teach myself stuff, read books, self-help books, nutrition, learn about things, and just progress every year. I boxed a little bit in my late 20s. And then around 31, I met my wife, she's now my wife, Beverly Knight.
I love this. This is honestly legend.
So I'm super great. I was a lighting gaffer. I used to do pop videos and commercials, and I met her on one of her commercials, and it was a beautiful story. Really, really kind of sliding door moment. Twice it happened. This real sliding. Yeah. We're 100% destined to be together, I love that. Which is beautiful for me, so that was 15 years ago. And then it was I had to, and this is one of the biggest things, I had to come clean about my life. So I had to tell her everything. I had to tell her about, the drug dealing, the fighting, the amount of women, and just what I was like, because I wasn't a good person, because I was scared. I was insecure. I had, we're a council estate. I had nothing. So it's all of these things, I was just trying to be this big, well, not big, this macho man, angry, violent, it was just insecurity the whole time.
But at the same time, and to be fair, I've never told anyone this. Well, obviously people know, but my dad was also a football hooligan, so it was that kind of environment. Yeah, so if you're in that environment, it's you don't know any different. So it is, you're kind of born into the eye of a storm. And I feel I didn't kind of go down the same route, but at the same time, if you felt, and I've had this conversation a few times, you kind of feel you've got something to prove, because you feel that's all that's what I need to be.
Yeah. Well, it's our role models. As a young man, a lot of the work I've been doing is on rites of passage and initiation. And young men at 15, they get a real big growth, a brain growth spurt. And it's one of the most important times in a young man's life. If they've got poor role models or no sense of where they're going in a positive way, they turn to, they get frustrated first.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. If they haven't got, someone, they turn to frustration. Then it turns to anger. And then where does it go? Violence.
Yeah.
And usually into a cult-like club. So
Yeah.
a gang, football hooligans, whatever it is, they go into that because they want to find their pack. They want to find their tribe and they want to release that angst. Instead of back in the old days, they would be taken from their mum, taken out to the wild and initiated into manhood by elders, by men, good men, And this is, I believe, what we're massively missing in the society these days. And it's up to men at my age, even though I haven't got children, to start being a good role model, not talking all the time and just telling them what to do, but showing them what a good man is, not acting out, not talking negatively about women, that's not being a good man anymore. I used to do it all the time. God, smash that and like that. Yeah. That's not a good way to be. Yeah, it's not a good way to show young men how to behave. So it's enacting that change, I believe, is everything in what I'm trying to do now as a man and as a human being,
Joe, it's really interesting, and I really get the sense of, and I saw a post a few years back, and I've had it screenshotted on my phone. Every time I see it, I'll screenshot it, and it's about kind of being who you needed when you were younger, and I get a real sense of that from you. Of obviously, you're slowly becoming the exact person that you needed when you were a kid.
That's beautiful analogy, mate. And I think you're spot on. I used to look at men like me now, like floppy hair, talking all this, like kind of love stuff and, kindness and all of that. And I think, you prick.
Yeah.
You little wimp, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, if they look at me now and the way I talk, I'm not your usual kind of like long-haired floppy, I'm an ex-cage, pro MMA fighter for a start. So I've got that, and I've still got that in me, that like animalistic, like chaos, which men need. It's okay for that. Like, it's okay to have that chaos inside of us. It just doesn't need to come out anymore. If it did, if someone attacked my wife or my, people I love, if they attack them, then I'll deal with it. If they just, get aggressive or whatever, I deal with that in a completely different way. But I'm not frightened anymore, but it's that I want to be, you're right. I want to be that man that young people and men can just go, do you know what? He's all right. He's doing okay. He's not just, I don't just talk the talk. I'm the Unguarded Warrior, my Instagram, whatever I'm doing. Even now, I'm not just sitting here waxing lyrical about how because I don't think I am. I'm just trying to do what I think is right for me. That is it. And if people want to look at that and go, well, I might take a bit of that. I'm not telling people that my way is the only way. It just isn't. It's a way. It might not be for you, but have a listen. Something might resonate with you. Come along to the Unguarded Warrior retreat, whatever it is, and see for yourself. And that's it. And I wake up every day and try and walk the walk.
I think it definitely comes across though, man. I think this is why.
Appreciate it.
I mean, I think it was one of the first conversations that we had. I think it was over like a voice note or through a message. And it was like, okay, I feel like I get it. I feel like he's speaking kind of my language. And even from the past 5 minutes, hearing what you were saying about like your journey and stuff like that, like a lot of that has resonated with my own childhood. And it's kind of now I feel like obviously I'm not in a similar place. Obviously, I've still got like a long way to go with in terms of like.
How old are you, buddy? How old are you?
32.
Mate, I'm 14 years along the journey, so it's a huge amount of time.
That's me, but I don't think the journey ever stops.
I know it doesn't, but 14 years ahead, just like someone at 55 who is on the journey of like, self-enlightenment and self-work is so much further along than me. And when I speak to them, man, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, that, you know what I mean? And it resonates with me and it goes, you know, at 32, I was a bellend still, you know, when I met Bev, I was still a dickhead. You know, I was still lying to myself, still, you know,
Yeah.
like trying to like kid myself and do things that didn't serve me, you know, that didn't nourish me.
Yeah.
And I, you know, yeah,
Do you think that's like a problem with like not necessarily with men? Because obviously I think it is quite a, a a common feel I get, especially when I talk to like my female friends. But with men especially, do you feel like there's an element of like we're constantly not fulfilled? Like we're constantly trying to find, like you were saying about like the hooligan, that trying to find their tribe kind of thing. And do you think that's potentially where a lot of this like around the stigma with men's mental health kind of comes from?
yep.
Because we've never had someone sit us down and be like, you talk if there's something going on. Like even as a kid, I was told like, don't, oh, he's crying too much, he's asking too many questions, all these things that I'm now like, if I want to cry, I'm going to cry. If I need to ask questions, because how else am I going to learn? And it's that kind of breaking those kind of
Mhm.
barriers and those kind of constant, it's like a negative thing to ask a question. It's like, well, one, I won't know where I'm going. I wouldn't know what bus stop to get off. I wouldn't know where to get that plane
Yeah,
if I didn't ask these kind of questions.
yeah.
So why, when it comes to like whether it's mental health or wellness or whatever it might be, like we should be asking these questions, surely.
I agree. I think personally, I think there's a couple of things in that. You know, I agree with you, but I think there are caveats in there because I think we do have to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
I also think we do have to take again our own culpability and our own
Yeah.
responsibility for our own actions and, you know, our responses and our, you know, our thoughts and everything, you know, because it, I don't think it's everyone else's responsibility to sort our feelings out.
Yeah.
And that's a bit
100%.
of a tricky one, you know. I don't think as a, you know, like for instance, you know, if I've got a problem, you know, I've been suicidal before, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect my mum or, you know, whatever to go and, you know, do a course on suicide and then come and try and talk me down from the ledge. That's not
Yeah.
my mum, you know. She's just a woman, you know. She's a woman. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not some like counsel or whatever. Why would I put that on her? You know,
Yeah.
that's not fair. So I think people can be more empathetic and, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm an adult, you know, I need to manage what I'm doing myself. Yes, I can get help from certain things, but if I put all of my um self-care on other people, I'm going to be disappointed. And I'm a firm believer in that, you know. And it's not about not asking for help or, you know, whatever, but it's knowing that somewhere in me I have got the answer, and that answer may not come, or it may not be now, or, you know, whatever it is, but somewhere I've got the ability to get myself out of that rut.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I swear to God, it's like you're in my head. I genuinely, again,
Never want me in your head ever.
yeah, not after the stuff you told me, no.
Yeah, mate, I haven't even started. That's like that half is the I thought that was the bad half in my life.
Yeah.
How about that? So when I got to 30, I thought, oh,
Oh,
great.
wow.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that shit's behind me. Done. Easy. The 15 years from 32 has been equally as mentally unbelievably beautiful and unbelievably dark.
Okay. So to be fair, I thought that was kind of like a turning point in terms of like, okay, you've met Bev, like this is going to be like Bev. Sorry.
Like,
as if
yeah,
I
no,
know
call
her.
it
As if
fair.
we're friends. me
And,
and
and,
Bev. Go
and
way
I'm
back.
I'm going to say something for everyone out there, young, old, whatever you are. It doesn't matter what age you are. Nothing stops happening, good and
Yeah.
bad. Nothing. Just because you get to a certain age doesn't mean bad shit doesn't happen. Do not kid yourself into thinking that your bad shit's going to stop happening, because it always will. But here's the thing, you can choose what mindset you go into that with. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's what age, if you want to work on yourself, if you want to take ownership, if you want to live the kind of 7 rules that I live by, and that personally, you know, I'm not saying everyone should, but those things really help. So it's, you know, if you honestly think that at whatever age life's gonna, oh, it's all flowers and fluffy things, oh, I've got money or I've got this and shit's gonna not go wrong, I'm sorry, bad news for y'all. But again, that's not a bad thing, because it's taught me, those 15 years, all the dark shit that happened taught me more about myself than anything ever would or could. And like anything was,
Do you think getting
powerful learnings
to that point, do you think, especially when you obviously you keep mentioning like these 15 years that followed, like, do you feel like you were more prepared for what was about to happen, or did you?
No, no, because they were shit, really bad.
So what? Obviously, feel free to talk about obviously,
okay,
but like what these 15 years? I feel like it's become like a bit of a.
So in my 30s, I put so much pressure on myself for a start. I did a post on TikTok a while back, and it got loads of views, and loads of people had different opinions. But I said to men in your 30s, take a breath. Take a breath. You're not going to do everything right now. Some people took it as, oh, he's given up. He's not, he didn't do this and blah, blah. He's like not living his dream. I'm going to put that shit straight. I am fucking out there doing stuff. I'm out there. I've got so many different things on the go, but I feel like I don't work a day in my life anymore, because I've changed everything about my mindset, and my setup in life is completely different because of all the bad shit I went through, because of the 100 hours a week I work, because of the stress I put myself, because of the illness I put myself through, because of the, all of this stuff, I lost. So I worked like a maniac on some property. I'd made £500,000, right? And I lost the whole £500,000, all of it in one deal, in one go. Literally from my bank, it was in there, and then it was gone. And then I lost another couple of £100,000 as well that I made back, and then lost that again. And that's not that many years ago.
Yeah.
So that was also whilst I had gangsters trying to fucking extort money from me at gunpoint and shit like that, turn up in my house with guns. Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So I had some so when I think about how dark my life was when I was in my 20s and, leading up to my 30s, that was a fluffy
walk in the park.
Mate, it was like eating ice cream in the park, Then it got really dark. That shit went on for like 4 years, and that was dark. But every night, people ringing me, sending, dark shit. And then losing that money, I wanted to kill myself, genuinely. Yeah. I was so low, I genuinely wanted to kill myself. And twice, it was really, really dark. And and what it was the shame of it.
Yeah.
That's what I believe why I think men get to that position where we think there's no way out. And why I'm saying men is because I know how I felt.
Yeah.
Talk for a woman, but I feel like women have a different mentality a lot of the time. Yes, I know women kill themselves, but I think the men, it comes down to shame. We think we've got to do everything and be a certain way. And then when we feel like we're not, we feel like we're letting people down, and then we imprison ourselves. And then we start all of these thoughts we put in our head. We're not good enough. We can't do this. I'm not enough. I'm not this. There's no other way out. Right. That's it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That I believe is where we go to. And that's what I did. And I, luckily I had, my wife was, obviously beautiful as always. My friend Jason Vale, the juice master, he helped me out a lot, just with beautiful words and, and I just slowly had to, and here's the real big game changing thing. I had to completely surrender. Like I remember, and this is pretty full on. This is pretty. I was in a car with these horrible fuckers, right?
Yeah.
And they were showing me that, oh yeah, we've just done this to this geezer, and it basically showed me this guy lying on a kitchen floor, and it looked like tomato ketchup on his top. That they just reckon they just killed him, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even me talking about it sounds like this is all made up shit.
Yeah.
And I just.
But this actually happens though.
Mate,
it's like
straight up on my life, and I'm sitting in this car and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on here? And I'm gonna be, just, you know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna be totally honest. So I didn't want to be a victim, okay, in this thing. So I
Yeah.
got someone to get me a gun and a bulletproof vest, and I was walking around London with a gun and a bulletproof vest, okay. And I've not really said that to like hardly any people. And I
Yeah.
know this is, you know, this is part of my mental health journey.
I massively
I didn't want to
appreciate
be
it.
a victim, but it got me so, I was walking around like so angry, so violent, so mad with the
Yeah.
world. At that point in that car, I had to just go, this is insane. I was like, do you know what? I don't care what you do. I don't
Yeah.
care anymore. I just gave the gun back and I just went and I just had to completely surrender everything. You know, I didn't want to go on social media. So I had to go into it. I had to go into the fear. I
Yeah.
had to recover my life, to not let them win, to not go into that, to be that person and ruin my life. I had to go into that darkness and I had to fight my fear so much. And I had to change my whole life from that, you know, and that was like 6 years ago.
Which is really like no time at all, really, is it?
Do you know what I mean? And it's so that, Taylor, has been the biggest lesson, and I wouldn't change any of that. And
Yeah.
I know it sounds insane. The lesson I learned from that was, and I didn't think I'd learned one, you know, because sometimes with lessons, bad shit happens. You have to,
Yeah.
you know, you have to dig through it for weeks.
Yeah.
Find like that
You
little
have to get
nugget
it.
of gold.
Oh, I've
There's
hit
like,
something.
yeah,
Oh,
there's
it's the
like
lesson.
shit
Yeah.
all over
Yeah.
you, like, you know, and you get one nugget of gold. You're like, oh, okay. And the big nugget I took was to surrender, to not let people dictate how I feel.
Yeah.
And that is ownership, and that is taking responsibility, and that is letting go and surrendering. Don't let people control your emotions. That is my biggest lesson of everything I've ever learned. And by all of the processes that I've put in place, and we talk about in the Unguarded Warrior, and we help men, and all the stuff I talk about is all to do with that.
Yeah. Mate, what a journey. Well, like, honestly, thank you, obviously, for being so open and honest. But there's one question I need to ask now, especially with the work that you're doing. Have you took a moment to kind of look back and be like, do you know what? It was bad, but do you know what? I'm actually quite grateful for where it is, to look around, and especially when you're on the retreats, looking around like with these men that like you're helping. They've probably been in very similar situations to you. Some may be worse, some might be like nowhere near to that extreme. But like to look around, but like, do you know what? I'm giving that kind of back. I'm being that person that I desperately needed.
Mate, I cannot, I'm actually, I'm getting a bit emotional. I cannot explain the honor that I feel, and the care that I feel for these men is ridiculous. For
Yeah.
their, like, I'm not a professional mental health in any way, but I've got my mental health first aid and all of that, you
Yeah.
know. But we don't try and get deep into their trauma, and, you know, we just provide a space where you can come and you can open up, and we can try and help with some of the processes that have helped me and some of my team that are there, you know, who are professionals and stuff in what they do. So through them processes, that is what we do. But mate, I cannot tell you that just to have men in a group being open, and the conversations we have, even now I'm getting goose pimples, mate.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. It is unbelievable. But here's again, I've got a caveat to all of what I just said. That part of my life, that story is just a story.
Yeah.
Right? I don't believe so much into that. My dog's here, bless him. He always has to put, I'm okay, mate. Yeah, he's here. Look, okay? He always wants, when
He
someone's on
knows.
Zoom, he just always comes up. No, I know, my boy. Yeah, I don't, this is a bit of a weird one. I don't believe my own hype. I don't believe my story too much, because a lot of it is emotion. A lot of what happened to us, a lot of it, I can't remember what happened yesterday, Tej.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what happened last Thursday at 7 o'clock?
Do you know what happened last Thursday at 7 o'clock,
Oh no,
James?
sorry, no, that was yesterday.
I was
Last,
sat here
no,
waiting for you to
last
turn up. And you
Thursday.
didn't.
Not yesterday,
Jake,
last Thursday. Yeah.
not a clue.
Right.
Not a
So
clue.
how can we remember what someone said to us when we were 8 years old?
Yeah.
And then let me go one more into that. What happened to that person to say something? Have you ever said anything to someone that you regret that you didn't mean?
100%.
Right. So have I. So if I think that someone said something to me, a flippant remark or a thing that they were angry with or something, whatever, someone had treated them badly
Yeah.
35 years ago, I think I can still remember that verbatim.
Yeah.
Come on. And I was 8 years old then. My 8-year-old brain said, oh, it reacted like that. Now I'm
Yeah.
46. It's time to not believe that fucking story anymore. It's time to let it go. And that for me is where I am with everything that's happened to me. I don't care about it anymore. It doesn't define me. Yes, some of it has made me who I am, but that's it. I can be whoever I want to be from this point, this moment, every single moment. I can be whoever I choose to be because I have that choice. And it's with that abundant mindset that I go through every single thing in my life with.
Do you know what, mate? Like I feel like I'm sharing you in compliments here, but I actually feel like you're probably one of the most inspiring people that I've ever spoken to.
Oh, mate,
but also, no, I mean it from a point of view where, because I come on this show and obviously there's a lot that people know, like obviously the thing that happened with like, there's a lot obviously before that happened with my mom that I've never spoken about, and like hearing you being so open and honest, and it's like some of it is resonating with me and the way I grow up. Like obviously it's not all like you were saying, it's just not all like, oh yeah, got my life together, it all looks great, but deep down, like we're still dealing with some very, very real, raw, horrible trauma that is still ongoing. It's not just like, oh, it's a new day, it's still going on. But I need to thank you, because I genuinely feel like this is one of the best waffles I've ever had from a personal point of view. Like I feel like you are completely 110% speaking my language, and I'm speaking to someone that gets it, rather than me trying to convince someone that, oh yeah, this situation I went through was really bad. Like, yeah, it was fucking horrendous. But I think, and I get this from you as well, that you kind of, it's that pain like became the purpose.
Always. Again, a little controversial. I only believe you learn from pain. I only believe you learn from bad
100%.
And yes, sometimes you have to search the absolute shit out of it. I really did. With that shit that went on with me, I had to. But do you know what I learned from losing that money? From losing nearly £800,000. Right. It's a sickening amount of money. That was everything I had, everything I'd worked hard for, everything, you know, was my scarcity mindset. That's what made me lose that.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm trying to get out of men in particular, with holding on, with being angsty, with guarding stuff, with like, oh, you know, it's just scarcity mindset. Just let that go. Be abundant. And when I say abundant, because it just means that you just let light in, you know, you're open. Like me being vulnerable and open. Yes, it scares me. It's, you know, scares me. I don't know how many people listen to this, mate. You know,
quite a lot.
Quite. So they're all going to know that about me. And that scares the shit out of me. But when I say it, it's got less power over me. It releases me from the prison that I've got, that I've surrounded that, you know, I've made that story. I've made that like this toxic thing of shame and, you know, upset and scarcity and like all of that. Not anymore. It's got no hold over me. The story, did it even happen like that? Did any of it happen like that? And outside that, who gives a fuck if it did? Like, it doesn't matter now. This now is where I am. So it doesn't matter. And now I choose now to, as I said, to go forward however I choose. And the only choice of inner peace and contentedness because happiness will come and go. If you're trying to find happiness, it's like trying to catch a butterfly, you know? Yeah. If you get contentedness and inner peace, all of the other stuff will just come nice, and that abundance will be in that. And that is where I'm just going every day to try and do the stuff I can do to help people, to have a bit of purpose, to, you know, to treat people nicely, to all of that, you know, is where I'm on that road, you know.
Fuck.
I'm sorry.
Oh, what a conversation. This is, it's not mad. It's just, it took 2 years to be doing this, to have some, like, speak to someone that's just like, cut the shit. Like, just, yeah, it's terrible. Just, but you're the one who's standing in your way with this.
That's it. Don't sit in it. Do not sit in your own shit, because no one's going to drag you out of that. No one. It's not anyone's responsibility. It's just not. We're not. And again, this is another controversial thing. I don't think after a certain age, I think you are responsible for your children. Outside of that, I'm not responsible for anyone, and no one is responsible to me or for me. No one, I believe. And again, all of this stuff that I say, right, here's the other caveat. All of this stuff, I'm trying to disprove it as well. So anyone listening, don't just, if you're trying to disprove it, so am I.
Yeah.
So this is what I believe now. Doesn't mean I believe it tomorrow. Even in 5 minutes, I might change my mind. You know, something might make me change my mind. Someone might. But at the moment, that's how I believe. Again, it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not trying to disprove that, you know. And that's where I'm always trying to go in my life.
So obviously we're a music podcast. I talk about music quite a lot on the show, and obviously you're married to a British pop icon.
I am, mate.
So I imagine there's music constantly in your house.
You know what? There isn't.
Oh, well, this shit's on everything I was going to say.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to cut the podcast there.
Oh, wow, so, okay.
Look, here's the thing. Bev sings most days out of the house. So when we're here, we both like quiet.
Yeah.
We really do. We like peace and quiet. So she loves, you know, listening to LBC. She likes listening to, you know, like podcasts on history and, you know, like Scandal.
Okay.
Mate, she's so educated. You know, she's got, you know, all her GCSEs. She's got A level. She's so well read. She's so clever, and, you know, she takes in knowledge so well. You know, I'm like, I'm like caveman. You know, like she's like,
she's the yin to your yang, clearly.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, but yeah, so we like a bit of quiet here, you know, but when we're doing stuff, you know, she loves training with her music on and stuff like that. Whereas I don't. I like training, nose breathing in my mind kind of moment. But anyway.
So this was going to be one of my questions for you.
We'll get onto that.
But that's really interesting, because I was going to ask, like, obviously I round up the kind of episode with a number of questions about like the songs and albums, but one of them was going to be to you, because obviously, you know, with the training, you recently obviously did the 24-hour run, and, you know, you're very, very active. I wanted to know, like, is there certain songs or albums that you go to when you are working out? So that's quite interesting.
I don't have music. I like to feel the moment. I like to be in it. I like to feel my breath. I like to have that connection with my body and what I'm doing. And stuff, you know, and that's why I barefoot run. You know, I run barefoot on the grass, top off. To feel like, because another thing I believe, like, we're missing the feeling in life. You know, we're always going to something, music, you know, drink, food, whatever, when we feel something. You know, so, and I think that's why Bev, you know, getting back to music and what she does, you know, she's on stage or whatever, she wants to just come back here and just like her sanctuary, you know. But we do love listening to music. And do you know who I'm really into at the moment? Action Bronson.
Yes.
Dude,
okay.
He is not only is he the straight up fucking most amazing geezer I've ever seen in my life, he's just a straight up, like, just brilliant man, like lovely, like well versed in different cultures and communities and a chef. I used to be a chef as well.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of resonate with him, and mate, what a dude. And I love his music. And it's just like, so I often put that on when I'm just in the house. You know, we've got the speakers in the thing I put in. So yeah, that I love. But I still listen to my wife's. I still
This is what we also going to be one of my
mate.
questions. Like, do you have a favorite?
Yeah,
100%
100% is my favorite song. So she wrote that about me, and we played the non singing version. What do you call that? What's it called? Just where
instrumental.
Sorry, yeah. So the instrumental version. We played that as she walked down the aisle at our wedding.
Oh,
and it was like, oh mate.
I love yous too. I don't even know yous. I love yous.
Oh, I love you too, brother. I appreciate it. Now, you know what? That was special. So that song for me is, you know, and it bears her soul, you know, about how she feels about, you know, because she never wanted to get married ever. She, you know, she didn't. Like the boyfriend she had, you know, she didn't ever go on holiday with them, or they weren't really like, you know, she just wanted to work and her family. So when we got together, you know, like it all changed for her as well as me. So she was like, you know, she knew that she loved me apparently when she first met, which is mad.
Wow.
Knew that I was the one, and told her mum and that I think I've met this guy that, you know, and I do say to everyone though, she didn't have her glasses on that day.
Wait, hang on. Did she think you were Bono as well?
I think
this is like,
I think
this is where it's all gone wrong.
Exactly. And then on my wedding day, I was like, look, and everyone was like, I can't. All my mates, you know, because they're some of my old school mates who've known me 13, like the wrong un, you know, and I'm now like doing all this stuff. I'm married to Beverly Knight, and you know, and I was like, yeah, it's just I just keep her sedated with a mixture of Nurofen and Rohypnol. Don't worry. Don't say.
This is a joke. This is a joke. We'll cut that down. Oh, God, you're some drunk Beverly Knight. Oh, God.
Oh, Taylor, it's not.
No, don't, because if anyone's listening to this now, I feel like I'm gonna get.
I'll have the police round.
Oh, God.
There'll be like a stash of written. No, there isn't. I'm joking. It's all right now. So, you know, but yeah, I'm a deeply, deeply lucky man. And, you know, she stuck with me through my controlling period, and, you know, like trying to just, you know, it be over.
Yeah.
You know, part of the whole journey as well is letting my ego go and surrendering, you know, to the fact that, you know, she's the successful one. You know, she's the one in the limelight. I'm the, you know, that's why I started my podcast. I had a while.
Yeah, but this is how I found you.
Plus ones,
Yeah, this is how the journey started.
Yeah. So, you know, so that was fun. I did that for one series. I've got another series in the bank. I'm just gonna put out. I keep saying
you need to. You said this to me a few months ago.
I know. But yeah, I've been busy doing the other things, and
true.
So
you are very busy.
I will put it out because it's just fun. You know, it's a beautiful. It's fun, but it's also like what you're doing. There's some serious tone to it because we want to help people as well. Want to give some advice and some, you know, stuff that has helped us, you know, I think is important.
And I think again, I think this is why the Waffle Shop has done like as well as it has. It's because you're having normal conversation. Yes, your wife might be like a pop star. Like, yes, the people you have on, their partners will be pop star or whatever walk of life that you would class as kind of as successful because they're in the public eye. Yeah. But regardless of what they do, or how much they've got in the bank, if they've got awards, whatever, they're feeling exactly the same as what me and you are feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's the real conversations that people don't give a shit about, like, oh, I'm here to talk about my new album. I'm here to talk about this song.
Yeah.
No, tell me what pisses you off. Tell me like what you go to when you're having a bad day. Because that's the stuff that genuinely helps me, that I find interesting. Yeah. And if it weren't for those conversations, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you. So
right, yeah, and that's it, you know, and that's a beautiful thing, mate. You're doing great stuff, and I think just, you know, the more we can just be open and vulnerable, and, you know, and that just that abundant mindset, you know, of because I'm sure you've heard it before, but everything we put out, we're just mirrors, you know, we're just mirroring how we feel. So if we, you know, I used to do it, someone would walk in a room, you know, man, you know, if he was, you know, a bit whatever, I'd think, ah, prick, you know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah.
you know, and then, you know, that is obviously how I was feeling, my insecurity or whatever, or I would walk in a room and have to be like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
no, and then, you know, people would probably think, oh, what a prick. So have a breath, shut your mouth, breathe through your nose, and give people a millisecond, you know, ask yourself, you know, don't try not to judge that 1 second, and just maybe ask instead of, oh, what's up with them? What happened to them? You know, like Oprah Winfrey, like what happened to them? If they're angry, or what's going on with that in their life right then? You know, what can I do? You know, just to give myself that little bit of time to not judge them, or not to be so angry or this, that, or the other. Because at the end of the day, we'll be happier. We just will.
What a guy.
I'm
Honestly.
not.
Honestly. You have been one of my favorite ever guests. And I'm not just saying that. And I promise you, I do not say it to everyone. Some of them I cannot wait to get off. But honestly, this has been a genuine pleasure. It's been a long time coming, but I love everything that you put out. And it's exactly what people, like you said, regardless of what age you are, like it's exactly what we, yeah, it's exactly what we need. And it's that space, it's that breather to give us exactly what we need. But honestly, thank you so much for joining me for Waffle. And thank you for being so honest and open.
Bev's just come home.
Oh, no, don't do this to me.
Yeah. Baby, I'm on the Waffle Shop podcast. Finished up. No. Come and meet Taylor.
Don't do this to me.
This is Bev.
Nice to meet you. This is weird now. This is weird now. Okay, I'm getting a little bit like starstruck. It's great. You've got a diamond there. He's one of the best conversations I've ever had.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I'm so glad. He's wonderful. Me and the car driver were just talking about you, because he was asking about the car reg. So I was explaining about Unguarded Warrior. Yeah.
Absolute legends. Yeah. Right, I'm fair there. With that, I'm gonna let you go and enjoy your weekend.
Legend. Thank you, brother.
Literally, yeah, you can have him back now.
And you got my number, buddy. Just if you ever just whatever feeling a bit shit or you need any, just shout me. Okay, let's keep in touch. I'd love to, mate. So
no, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Legends. Beautiful, beautiful people.
Likewise, man.
Enjoy your weekend. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, really nice.
See you later. Bye.
Take care. Bye.